Do you want me to hide under the table when they start commenting on everything I said, or should I just
Their comments on what you look like.
Thank you very much. All right, let's go. John, you invented it. It's all your fault.
Okay,
go ahead.
Let's go to again, Matthew, great guy. We're going to get Matthew in because he gives us money. Thank you, Matthew. And he says, hey, the Club World Cup in LA yesterday was a complete disaster. Traffic control added another hour for people to get in from the 210, both sides of the traffic. Kids and parents are running on the freeway to get in. Oh, my God.
Yeah, it was a mess. There was a lot of fear from the Mexican backers that they're going to be ice raids. They're going to show up with people trying to get their tickets and get into the stadiums. From what I gather, that did not happen. But the thing I was told, the CWC was a fiasco a bunch of places. It was not good in Seattle. It was not good in Miami, etc. And maybe there's just a general consensus that FIFA overreached with this idea of the Club World Cup. And, so you take the fact that maybe this isn't as cool as everybody thought it would be. Paris Saint-Germain beat somebody 10-0 in this Club World Cup championship first round game over the weekend. So I don't know. FIFA's going to have to rethink this thing. And, this is coming on at the exact same time as the CONCACAF Gold Cup, which is kind of important emotionally for a lot of the teams in this quadrant. South America, Central America, etc. So that's a big issue too. Is there a different place on the calendar to put a Club World Cup? I don't know.
Well, this is what Pulisic is upset about, right?
There's too many matches.
Yeah, so he doesn't get enough time off. So how is the Club World Cup different than the Champions League in Europe?
Well, the Champions League is earned by virtue of you got to finish in the top 3 or top 4 in your league to qualify to go to the Champions League.
Right.
So the English Premier League, I think, takes the top 4 every year. And it's the same thing in Serie A in Italy, La Liga in France. The top 4 all go into the pool and then they play. Champions League is huge, tremendous amount of money.
But this is like any team that's a club team gets in?
No, this is, how can I explain this? They devised this 2 years ago. This is for a champion team in a specific league. Paris Saint-Germain won their league.
Mm-hmm.
So their team collectively gets to play in the Club World Cup tournament.
So this is really more of a Champions League than the Champions League.
But the Champions League is the top 4 teams from every professional league in FIFA. They all go play, and they play during the course of the whole calendar year. This is a fixed position thing.
See, this is the thing that bugs me, and I mentioned this last podcast. It's confusing to soccer fans.
Yeah, and then you throw into that, we got the Gold Cup going on, which carries an awful lot of merit for teams in this area from U.S. to Canada, Central America, South America.
Yeah, and then we're trying to follow our local MLS team, and then some of those players are leaving to go play for their national team. So it's different.
Too much.
Yeah, you don't see this sort of intermingling of players and leagues and other sports like you see in soccer.
FIFA created this as a money grab, and I think it's blown up in their face. That's a big issue. And then obviously you throw into the society problems we have here in the United States with the immigration and ICE and the White House. This thing can be so chaotic, can be so bad. And the crowds a lot of places were down because I think a lot of the Hispanic fans were afraid to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, that would be a prime location for ICE to show up. But
now, luckily, at least this past weekend, they did not. But that does not mean that they're going to stay away forever. Really interesting point, Matt. It's a complex thing to talk about. Thanks for joining us. Go ahead. Next one.
Okay, next one is our good friend David. David, again, thank you. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is so annoying. I want to watch and focus on baseball being played.
Well, it just depends. They get it. They almost make it like a talk show in the booth, which kind of becomes a distraction. Now, for example, yesterday, they led off Sunday Night Baseball talking about the blockbuster Red Sox-Giants trade, which was pretty cool. But during the course of the game, they just gravitate towards all this conversation about things that don't have to do specifically with that game and the set of circumstances with the pitchers, the hitters, etc. That to me, they're like making it a sports talk show. I don't think it should be that way.
I wonder if they're just doing that on purpose to try to attract more casual fans.
Could well be.
To kind of educate them. I'm kind of tired of the whole microphone, on the player it's cool how the NBA does it because they capture all the information and then it goes back to the truck and they edit it and they play back later what they said during the game.
There's not a lot of meaningful stuff.
No,
there.
but it's interesting,
Man, play defense, John.
Yeah, something like that. But when you get a guy on, and you're asking the player, you're like, what's your favorite breakfast cereal? I mean, it's just dumb.
Yeah, and he's waiting for the fly ball in right field. I think that the potential dugout interviews during the course of the game carries a lot more clout for the fans in terms of information than trying to interview my right fielder waiting for a fly ball to get it to him.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, if you want info, but it just seems like they're just showing off their technology gadgetry. Hey, we can have a wireless mic in left field. Isn't that cool?
Okay, we move on. Good point. But I did think Sunday Night Baseball led off this past weekend because they were talking about the topic. I mean, that thing was a bolt of lightning coming out of the sky. Where the hell did this trade come from? In fact, I had to double check it. When I first got a flash, I said, no, you kidding me? And then I went and checked 2 other sources and said, yeah, the deal's just coming down. I said, wow.
I mean, well, let's go here. This is a comment from Roy talking about the Devers deal. He says, Lee, do you think Devers' batting average takes a dip playing at Oracle Park?
He's not playing at Fenway, and he's going to play where Barry Bonds got frustrated. So, I mean, that's a different yard. That's a tough place to hit a lot of balls out of. So, I think his game is going to be different. Now, he does put the ball in play. He does get extra base hits. I mean, if he can nail things into the alleys, he's going to run forever. But he's also a guy that's got pop. Well, he does not have the green monster there anymore. So, yeah, I think this learning curve is really going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, left field is hella hard to get it over that brick wall because it's a pretty tall wall.
Yep.
I saw like a graphic, and they were taking all of his Devers home runs in Fenway and then overlaying it on the Oracle Park diagram, and
long fly ball outs.
Yeah, a lot of long fly ball outs, but then a lot of other cases he might get home runs to left that otherwise would have bounced off the green monster. So it'll be, I'm just curious to see mostly how his attitude changes because he's now saying, hey, I'll play first base. I'll play DH, whatever you need. He's like, on good behavior now.
Well, his meeting with John Henry and obviously Cora did not go well in Boston. They traded him. And usually you don't get rid of star talent, but they got rid of attitude. And as Riley admitted, they got rid of contract too, and that's got something to do with it.
They got Marcelo Meyer, San Diego kid, and he had, I think, was it 1 or 2 home runs in his first day?
Yeah.
They
get their collection. If you go through their roster, they've probably got 6 really good young players that are all kind of up there simultaneously. They're a little bit thin in pitching, which is why so much pitching was part of that San Francisco deal, because they really need help around Garrett Crochet, and their bullpen's been a black hole. Now, Jordan Hicks comes from the Giants, and he was a former closer with the Cardinals that San Francisco tried to convert into a starter and did well for a while, and then didn't do well and then got injured. Hicks will go back into the bullpen. So, but I guess the shocker to me is you did this after you just kicked the Yankees' ass in 2 back-to-back series and put yourself back in the pennant race. And in your trade, Devers, how do you explain that to your people?
Well, I mean, I think there is an explanation. I mean, it's complicated.
You're tired of the attitude.
Yeah, you're tired of the attitude. You're getting, pitching prospects. You've got your own internal guys in the farm that are arriving on the scene. This is all going to probably work out really well for them.
It's going to work out for the Giants?
I don't know. I just don't know how he's going to be used. Like you say, the ballpark dimensions are different. And, we've seen other third basemen go back and forth between the Giants and the Red Sox. I think of Pablo Sandoval.
Yeah.
That didn't work out too well for him when he went to Boston.
But he goes there with Adames, Chapman, and they've got a bunch of nickel and dime hitters. The Yastrzemskis of the world are not sexy names, but those guys are just kind of productive. They hit 270, 280, pop a home run here and there. And
Giants, that Helio Ramos guy is pretty good too.
He's had a good season.
Yeah, he's been leading off for them and doing a really good job. And then another local guy, San Francisco, Casey Schmidt, had that grand slam over the weekend.
Yeah, he's not hit for average at all. I'm kind of surprised. He's been there a long time, but he's still there. So it'll be interesting. The Giants have kind of position themselves back in the pennant race with the Padres and with the Dodgers.
Yeah, I think Arizona probably out, Giants probably in.
Okay, we move on.
Okay, let's go here to Callan. And he says, hey, good afternoon, gents. Seems like Florida is repeating. Oil getting suckered into taking the rat bait, and dumb penalties they have taken has killed them, along with goaltending woes.
Well, the woes are really bad. They played with greater discipline because that game was up in Edmonton. There were no cheap shots. There was no face washing. There was no late hits, arguments, etc. Now going back into Florida, there might be a lot of yapping there because that's the way the Rats tend to play. The Panthers tend to play down there. But this goaltending thing has to be addressed. It's the third year in a row. And Skinner earned his way there. They won a lot of games with Skinner, but the most important times of the year, he's been benched every playoff series this year. And he got benched last year, too. I haven't talked to my Canadian friends lately, but my guys in Edmonton, they just got to be sick just about the fact that they can't trust Skinner. You never know, Jekyll Hyde, what you're going to get.
Yeah, I'm still learning about this. They don't have a problem switching goalies in the middle of a match.
Well, they out of desperation, but again, you're going to a journeyman minor league guy's been with 6 clubs in Calvin Pickard. Now Pickard played well when they brought him in initially, but then Pickard started that game 5 and just got lit.
Well, but if they do make a switch, let's say mid-game, do they usually do it like at any time, or will it typically be during one of the breaks?
It can be any time. If a guy gives up 2 bad goals in a row, they might make that switch, or they might wait till there's a stoppage in play or the 10-minute mark, etc. But usually you try to stop the bleeding if you're bleeding goals, and that's happened with Skinner a bunch.
But some guys, like, they get on that big stage and it's the big moment, and then they kind of mentally get crushed. It reminds me, I remember Nate Kading for the Chargers,
Sure.
the kicker. He would always miss in the playoffs.
Yep.
So it's the same kind of thing. Skinner, great talent, but maybe the stage is too bright for him.
You got to keep people off him. He has a lot of problems flopping. He has a lot of problems locating where the puck is. I mean, he's gotten beaten on stuff. There is a lot of traffic in front of him. I mean, Edmonton has to clear that crease. They got to get those big bodies out so he can get a sight line to see where the shots are coming from. But he's given them so many bad goals. And to me, I don't quite understand it. He's really sloppy around the net with loose pucks, rebounds, not covering it, or trying to stick handle behind the net and coughing it up. Those are things you can fix. But we're 3rd year in a row with McDavid and Draisaitl, and they're about to go on vacation.
Ownership is probably coming unglued. The fans are coming unglued. And really, I'm sure the coaches and the fellow players are not happy with this at all.
Yeah. But yet, the reality is you try to have the back of your goaltender, because you would not have gotten to the NHL finals had it not been for a lot of good games that Skinner's played. But the most important time of the year, Skinner continues to scuffle and struggle, and they have to go pull him. And it's happened 3 years in a row.
It's a good thing Washington Nationals manager Dave Martinez is not the head coach of the Oilers. He'd be throwing Skinner under the bus.
Exactly. Okay, we move on. Thanks, Colin.
Okay, let's go here to the O-Siders. He says, hey, is it out of the question Padres might be sellers at the deadline? After all, they still over the luxury tax threshold. Dodgers don't care, and they're over, but Padre ownership does.
Well, Padre ownership has put a lid on A.J. Preller. There's a number of different angles here as it relates to the trade deadline. Yes, they have needs. The question is, can they afford to take on a contract? I'm not sure they can. Secondly, what have they got to trade outside of the young catcher Salas, who's hurt, and the shortstop DeVries? They don't have a heck of a lot there. So if you're going to be a buyer, it has to be an equitable acquisition. We put a list up here last Thursday, I guess it was, of potential trade guys.
Oh, yeah.
And top of my list was Andrew McCutchen. You get him dirt cheap from the Pirates. He can play left field. He's got a little bit of pop. If he hits 250 and hits a few home runs and he gives you good play in left field, why not? Jaron Duran doesn't work. They want Luis Arise. Well, that doesn't work. A, you're taking on contract. B, you're creating a hole at first base if you're trying to solve the hole in left field with Duran. And now the fact that Rafael Devers has been traded, Boston's not going to trade Duran. So, so the Padres issue is they're at $210 million, and their total with the benefits and everything is like $280. They can't go higher. So what can you trade? You can't trade Bogarts. I don't think that Cronenworth's got great value. So how are you going to rid yourself of payroll to take on a different type of payroll? And secondly, who are you going to trade if it's not one of those guys? Who else are you going to trade? There's nobody else to trade, I don't think.
Well, there's some Padre fans are maybe a little down on Salas, maybe thinking maybe he wasn't as good as we thought he would be.
Well, I thought he was good, but he's been hurt.
He's been hurt,
But he's not a hitter.
But he's not a hitter. And that was the thing that we thought. We knew the defensive skills for him were off the charts.
But he's so young.
He is very young. So, they're going to have to make some tough decisions here. But imagine, just take you through that hypothetical, that the Padres trade for Andrew McCutchen. Pittsburgh fans right now are so pissed off about everything else that's going on. And then you trade their guy, McCutchen, who kind of had like a homecoming this year. I mean, that would be pretty rough on Pirate fans.
It's been pretty rough on Pirate fan, period, exclamation point, because of the owner, Bob Nutting. It's a debacle there in Pittsburgh. But that's the kind of guy, if they're going to try to fill something in left field, that's the kind of guy I think maybe they go for on a short-term, low-budget rental who can still play the game to some degree. Okay, move on.
Moving on. Okay, let's go here to John to talk about Dave Martinez. Hey, what Dave Martinez doesn't have is a clubhouse leader. For years, they had Jason Worth. The World Series team had Howie Kendrick and Adam Eaton and Max Scherzer. The Nationals need a seasoned veteran to challenge the kids and show them how to be professionals. They brought Josh Bell, remember him, back to be a leader, but he hasn't done that yet.
They just don't have enough. They don't have enough pitching, and you're correct. There's an intangible thing there in terms of guy that picks up the flag and says, follow me. They've got good young kids. Most of them are from San Diego, but they just don't have enough players. And let's be honest, damn, that division's hard. You got the Mets and you got Philadelphia. Now Atlanta's having a real bumpy road with all the injuries that they've had, but that's a tough division too.
Well, Strasburg, if he were healthy, would still be inside his contract right now,
Yes.
wouldn't he be? I mean, so imagine if he was there as a leadership presence, and being at the top of his game with no injuries. But it could be a whole different situation.
But that's a what if situation.
Well, yeah,
We're dealing with what is.
Yeah, well, it's fun to kind of think about the what if. All right, let's go here to Lee. And go to Hector. And he says, Lee, now that the Dodgers' actual rival have pushed their chips in with Devers, do you think they have enough offense to win the division? P.S. Did you get your Dodgers underwear in Ensenada or the Americas outlet?
Oh, geez, that's cruel. Doesn't matter. Does it really matter who I like, who I root for? The only thing that counts is the quality of the content on the show. Damn. Hey, I got you to view. Content must be damn great. Giants have been a surprise to me. I mean, they were 41-29 going into this final series weekend game with the Los Angeles Dodgers. I mean, they've been really impressive, and they've done this. This is the other thing, punched up on your cell phone. Does Justin Verlander have a win this year? He's been hurt. He's been on the disabled list. I'm not sure that he really does. So the Giants pitching has been unique. It's been deep. It's been a surprise to me. And they're guys outside of the big names that you recognize. I mean, that third baseman, Matt Chapman's hitting home runs. Adames, after a slow start, has really started to cook like he did in Milwaukee. Now you get Rafael Devers, and the other guys are pretty decent. I mean, Yastrzemski and those guys and Ty Fitzgerald and those guys, they just grind and they'll win some games for you, and they hit 250 to 270 and they're steady and they're there all the time. Or is it a team made up of superstars? No, not like the Dodgers, and obviously not like the names the Padres have, but so far so good. And now they're bold. Now, man, oh man, there's an intangible about what's happened in San Francisco. They have the market, John. Think about this. They have the market to themselves now with no Oakland Athletics.
Yeah.
Think about that. And no NFL.
Well, yeah. The NFL is in Santa Clara.
Yeah, they got the 49ers. But the Giants are a baseball market unto themselves, so they can probably charge what they want to charge, increase payroll, and take on big contracts and afford it and be able to afford it right now. That's why Posey, I think, has been so bold. I thought the Adames contract from Milwaukee was a little bit of a surprise, and obviously this thing just was like a bolt of lightning. Where the hell did this come from, this deal from Boston? So I think they're close, and They haven't gotten anything from Verlander?
Yeah, he says he's 0 for 3. I mean, 0 wins and 3 losses, 4.33 ERA. Hasn't pitched since mid-May.
Yeah, he's been on the deal with a neck problem that hasn't gotten better. Now they say he's coming back, but that's amazing. I mean, Verlander was supposed to be one of the front of the end rotation guys, and he got no wins. And the Giants are fighting for first place.
Well, I remember there was a big stretch there in May, like the latter half of May, where the Giants just weren't hitting at all. Yeah. Like if they had a hard time scoring 4 runs in a game. And there were games where there was one game where the Padres, I think, were up 4-0, and Giants fans were certain the game was over. And of course, they had a huge comeback. So now that's what they need. They need hitting. So now they got Devers. So yeah, they could be sneaky good. And in that marketplace, they went years and years and years with sellouts at Oracle Park. Not anymore as much, but they're going to support a winner. I mean, the Giants and the Niners are the 2 most sentimental teams in the Bay Area.
Logan Webb is a prime example of what Giant baseball has been this year. He's 5-5. He's a gamer. His ERA is like 2.83. They don't score any runs for him. He's 5-5 and a 2.83 ERA, which is kind of really impressive. Now they go get another big bat.
You know who he looks like? Logan Webb, Jesse Plemons. I don't know if you've ever seen. He's an actor. He was on Breaking Bad, and I always thought Logan Webb kind of looks like him, but Logan Webb, man, that guy's hella good.
Oh, he's a baller.
And the Padres actually hit him well, I think, in their last game against San Francisco.
Okay, we move on.
Okay, let's go here to Mike. And he goes, hey, as a Rockets fan, I completely good off of mortgaging our young talent for an aged superstar. Man, keep that core together.
I concur with you, but see, they've also got that pretty good draft pick. So what they need to do is find a way to package a pick and maybe one young player to go get a veteran stabilizer that's been through the wars. That's why Durant appeals to them. They think they're one veteran away because they sure do have athletes. My goodness, they've got athletes in Houston, just like San Antonio is building athletes, just like the model is what Oklahoma City has become. I mean, Oklahoma City is in the finals, trying to win the championship, and the average age of Oklahoma City is 24. How amazing is that?
Well, that's the cool part about the NBA finals right now is there is legit young superstars on both of these teams and having breakout moments in their career. And I think it's really cool, because I mean, do we really want to watch LeBron James, in the finals every year?
No.
I mean, I like seeing some of this new blood. And yeah, I mean, I just know that the Rockets have, remember those 2 twin brothers got drafted a couple of years ago? I think their last name is Amen. And so one of them is there. He's really good. And then
the other one's in Detroit, the Thompson brothers.
Yeah. That's his first name, Amen Thompson, right? Pardon me. And then the other guy that's on the Rockets I remember was their center, who was like, I think from Turkey or something. And he is really, really talented.
He's really good offensively. Great offensive talent. They've just got a lot of firepower. And that's the byproduct of drafting well after losing and losing and losing for years. They were rotten.
Yeah.
So Durant's going to get traded. I bet by next Thursday, by a week from today, he might be somewhere else pretty quick. And that's not the only one. There's still other deals that are probably going to happen around. There's going to be a busy week in the NBA leading up to the draft.
And a lot of those Celtics.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we move on. Mike, thanks for being with us.
Let's go to Casey. And he said, good afternoon, guys. And what moves do you see my LA Kings making this offseason? And I think Panthers wrap up the series tomorrow and repeat as Stanley Cup champions.
Yeah, I think Edmonton had their chance. And when they got stoned as badly as they did in Game 5 at home, I thought this is over. And the goaltending just continues to be erratic. In terms of the LA Kings, they've got an awful lot of payroll. They've got to make a decision. There's a rumor out there that they may trade one of their young defensemen. It's not going to be Brant Clark. I think it's going to be Jordan Spence that they might trade him. They need to start stockpiling some more young players, but they have an awful lot of age there, an awful lot of high payroll, but they're awful close. They just made a deal to bring back goaltender Phoenix Copley. They signed him this morning to a new extension. He's going to be the backup. He signed a one-way contract. So they're close. I mean, they are right there, and they just have to take that next step. I thought it was gruesome that they couldn't beat Edmonton in the playoffs this year, and they had them by the throat, and they let it get away, and general manager walked away from it. Coach kept his job. they don't have a lot of space to do a lot of things. That's the big issue with LA. Anaheim's the one that's got the cap space. Anaheim's got the holes for veteran players. That's why Anaheim made the Chris Kreider deal. So Kings are good. The Kings just have to learn how to win in postseason. They haven't been able to do it because Edmonton's always been there right in front of them.
It's interesting because the Kings have all those old veterans with big contracts.
Yeah, the Kopitars of the world. And
Yeah.
Exactly. Adrian Kempe and Kevin Fiala finally had a really big season offensively. And he'd been paid a lot of money. He'd come from Minnesota, had never quite scored the way he did with the Minnesota Wild. The Kings are really deep. I think it's a really good team, but they haven't won because Edmonton's always been there in front of them.
It's just, it's like there's certain teams that have other teams' number.
Oh, 4 years in a row.
Yeah. I get you. Okay, now this is a fun one. I want to hear your whole story on this, and this is from 2 Run DMC. He goes, "Down it, firefighter."
This goes back to sports talk radio. We did what we call endorsement advertisers.
Mm-hmm.
Advertisers would come be part of our talk show, car dealership, real estate agent, whatever, and we would do live commercials for them. So anyhow, we had this beer company come to us and saying, we're introducing a new beer. And we want you to come to a sports bar in Orange County, and we're going to shoot video of you talking to the fans about beer. The beer was called Klausthaler. So anyhow, so I go up on a Saturday. It took us forever. It might have taken us 7 hours to shoot all these videos, and they would edit them into commercials.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting at a bar, and this guy comes up, Hacksaw, let's talk some sports. And I said, nah, I want to talk beer with you. And we started talking about Klausthaler.
Yeah.
It was really funny. And I was just ad-libbing. And I said, okay, that's my take on beer. What do you do for your living? He said, well, I fight fires. I said, down it, firefighter. And that's all anybody remembers from the Klausthaler commercials. They ran for, I think, a 6-month schedule. It was kind of novel. That's the story.
Well, I think I heard down at firefighter like from Jim Rome or some other guy that was just,
mocking me.
Mocking you, but in a fun way,
Sure.
know? And so it's cool to hear that actual story. So that was part of a television commercial.
Yes. For Klausthaler beer, German beer.
Cool. I like that. See, you have got a million backstories. We've talked about some of them.
You want me to write a book, and I don't have enough
you
hours.
should.
Not enough hours in the day to write a book.
Oh, okay.
But
Well,
anyhow.
you need a ghostwriter to help you out.
We'll
maybe.
put them on the podcast.
Okay. And let's go here to James. And this is a 2-parter. He says, James says, Durant will ruin those young teams he may get traded to. I think the Miami Heat are big players for a deal for KD. And then James goes on to say, the Knicks think they're the Yankees. Ha ha.
Well, they got a screwball owner in James Dolan, and the Yankees had George Steinbrenner, so I guess anything is possible. Durant's got a little bit of time left on the clock, but boy, that turned out to be a really bad season in Phoenix. I mean, that ownership had gone in and started making all these trades. They're going to put this dream team together, and the deals blow up in their face. I mean, it wasn't necessarily Durant's fault. Brad Beal came in a separate trade, the guard, and he had a big contract. He's hurt all the time. There's some attitude issues with Beal. And Devin Booker's a great star, but he got tired of losing. So the Phoenix has just got some internal chemistry problems. I don't know how much of it is on Kevin Durant. All I know is Kevin Durant is 36, and he's got 1 year left on a $54 million contract. And the offense, I think, has to run through him, not through Devin Booker. So maybe he goes to Miami, but Miami is they've got internal problems. I mean, so bad that they traded away, they gave away Jimmy Butler to get him the hell out of there and send him off to Golden State. So Pat Riley's got his hands full, and he's got cap problems too. So, but Durant's got the no trade clause, so he can say, and he has this weekend. He told them, "I'd waive my clause to go to Houston, go to San Antonio, but you got to find the right mix of players that the Spurs are willing to give up or Houston's willing to give up." Now all of a sudden the Clippers are in on it, Miami's in on it. Toronto's got more resources than the others. Toronto wants it, but does he want to go play in Canada? So I don't think Durant's a bad guy, but his career sure has kind of toppled off.
Remember when he got traded or as a free agent signing, went to the Warriors,
Mhm.
and everyone freaked out. You
Yep.
know, oh my God, the Warriors had the Splash Brothers and
Right.
Draymond Green, and now they're getting Kevin Durant. And I remember they won one and maybe lost one with Durant.
Mhm.
Is that right?
Yeah.
But there were chemistry issues, I think, with Durant and Steph. And I mean, I remember hearing a little bit of chirping about that.
Got to have the ball.
Yeah. But that's Steph's team, man. I mean,
Sure.
of course.
And Klay Thompson's now gone,
hmm
and Draymond's in the twilight of his career. And now the big story today out of Golden State is they're shopping Jonathan Kuminga. They may give up on him. He's only 22 years of age. I think he's a great talent, but they haven't been able to find the right role and haven't found any consistency with him at all. But
He's had moments where he has been spectacular.
oh, exactly.
Mhm.
Which is why I said you're going to trade him. He's only 22, but they're with him every day of the week, and they either know work ethic or they know shortcomings, whatever. But next week, an NBA fan, next week, don't miss it, because once we get done with the championship series, we dive head on into the NBA draft, and there are going to be a lot of trades. I think Kevin Durant's going to be the first ones going off the board quick. Okay, John, move on.
More NBA. Let's go here to Just Good Sports. And he says, hey, I agree that the players run the NBA. For that reason, I think coaches are just faces. It's a problem, but the solution is probably too political to take on in the current climate.
Well, the question is, the players are making all the money. And with rare exception, Steve Kerr is not a puppet. He's running everything Golden State. Popovich ran everything San Antonio, but you got a lot of other places where these coaches get fired and the players are calling all the shots, probably the Lakers included. I don't sense that with the Clippers, but it's just a different NBA at this point in time. It is a players' league, and the players are calling a lot of the decisions, I think.
Well, I think LeBron is making decisions for the general manager too on some of these deals.
Influence.
But talking about some of these NBA coaches, and yeah, you mentioned Pop and Steve Kerr, and there's a lot of great coaches. But who's sneaky good is that guy that's the coach of the Heat. What's his name? Eric
Spoelstra.
Spoelstra.
He's the senior member. He's coached the most years of anybody in the league at one place. Of course, he's got a linkage with Pat Riley, and it's Pat Riley's franchise. Just ask Jimmy Butler.
Ah, okay.
But that doesn't happen in a lot of places.
Yeah, because he's
NBA.
been there forever. I mean, he was there when LeBron took his talents to South Beach.
Right.
Yeah. So, but he's always struck me as like a young kid. Now he's obviously a grown man. But it was interesting to see how the NBA coaches are a lot different than NCAA basketball coaches.
Yeah, but the NCAA has gone through radical changes. All the great coaches have left. There is no Roy Williams. There is no Coach K. Jay Wright. I mean, all the great modern day coaches have stepped away that can't stand the NIL transfer portal. The whole thing is totally out of control.
And some of them have been asked to leave, like Bobby Knight, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You
Multiple times. Okay, we move on.
And let's go here to social media. Let's get some of our social media friends involved. And go here and down the list. And this is an interesting take here from the Smooth Toad talking about Pac-12 expansion. He goes, hey, San Marcos sits right in between Austin and San Antonio, Texas. And the fans at Texas State have something to look forward to and show up, unlike Rice, who is a has-been.
Oh, he's talking about the Pac-12 conference is about to expand.
Yeah.
And the general feeling is they're going to offer Texas State. Should I tell him what I think, or just want me to bob my head and say, that's okay?
I want one man's opinion.
One man's opinion is, why them? Who? Why them? Rice is in Houston. Big TV market. Is Rice a great program? No, not right now. It's not, but it's had its chunks of time where it's done very well. It's more recognizable. Texas State, a.k.a. Southwest Texas State. Yeah, I know where they are on the map, but Austin, last I checked, that's University of Texas.
Yeah.
San Antonio, they got a program that's rocketed. UTSA, University of Texas at San Antonio, is now Division I and has had success. Texas State makes no sense to me at all, except it just be a school that would show up that has no identity. And I just happen to think the Pac-12 is going to be Mountain West 2.0. I don't think there's anything that attracts me to the Pac-12. Even though Oregon State and Washington State, Boise and San Diego State are, I don't think it's any different than being on the old WAC or being in the Mountain West Conference. There's nothing sexy about it. I don't think so.
Well, don't they have to make a decision at some point
They
here?
have by July 1st of next year, they have to make a decision. The rumor is there's about to be an announcement on a TV contract that'll involve 4 different networks. And then there's going to be an announcement as to who they're offering. But I would rather offer Rice because that's got more name recognition and it's in a bigger TV market. I'm sorry, San Marcos, Texas is a dot on the map compared to Houston.
Interesting. I thought it was July, like in a few weeks.
No,
So it's
July
another year.
2026.
Oh, okay. Now here's a follow-up comment that I think is worthy of putting up on the same issue. And this is from HTV Log. And he says, how is it that the new Big 12 still maintains its power status when schools like Cincinnati, Houston, Central Florida, BYU, TCU, they all came from the AEC and what used to be the Mountain West? How is that different than the new Pac-12?
Well, the University of Houston's had some great programs over the years, both football, Bill Yeoman, basketball, obviously. So there is reputation there. TCU under Gary Patterson was a really good program. Kind of has cooled off a little bit. But remember, Oklahoma State's still in that conference. Kansas Jayhawks came back. K-State under Bill Snyder was really good. Iowa State's become a player. Maybe not a sexy household name nationwide, but their football, basketball programs have been pretty good. So there's more credibility with past track records in the Big 12, and of course, Coach Prime, than there is obviously in what's left of the Pac-12. The Big 12's got more name recognizable programs that have had success. All we got is Washington State, Oregon State, and then what we're bringing with San Diego State and Boise State. I don't think it's the same thing.
Well, I don't know if they really are. I don't think these conferences care too much about the success of the program. They just care about the size of the media market, right? Because you can look at some of these other teams like Cincinnati, Houston, Central Florida, BYU, TCU. They're all, they've had varying degrees of success, but they were all group of 5 teams. Now suddenly they're power, 4?
But they're legacies.
Yeah.
Those programs have had a lot more success. I think Houston, BYU, that's known commodity.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, but they're also in decent sized markets. So University of Houston, like what's in Houston? Yeah, there's Rice and Houston, University of Houston.
But Houston's had great success.
Yeah, they have.
And it's a mega TV market.
Yeah, and even right now, the basketball program's terrific.
Exactly.
Okay, let's keep on trucking here, and this is good. There were some people getting on your case here a little bit.
Oh, you think?
Yeah, this is from Austin. He goes, I'm concerned about you always trashing the Padres when they are injured and going up against 2 other teams that spent big money while the Pods are in the mix, spent jack shit. Hashtag LFGSD.
Well, first of all, the Padres have spent a lot of money. They're $210 million payroll. That's pretty significant. I don't know if it's the 4th or 5th highest in all of baseball. The Padres have spent their money. Now, how they've spent it in terms of length of contracts, I think has kind of paralyzed them. I'm not bashing on the Padres. I'm just dealing with the facts right now. You can't sit there, Austin, and tell me everything's great when you have no solution to Yu Darvish. You have no indication as to the future health of Michael King. You just can't sit there and tell me everything's great. And you got a black hole in left field, and you got a hole behind home plate offensively. They're fighting to keep their head above water in this playoff race with half a season to go. And I'm just dealing with the facts. If Darvish was taking the ball every 4th or 5th day, or Michael King was vintage Michael King and it had been no problems, we'd be sitting here really, really excited. I just put the facts on the table and give you my opinion about what concerns me. Just like months ago, I said the Dodger way no longer works because of the catastrophe, the epicenter of all these surgeries to all their pitchers. And then Dodger fans, you're bashing on the Dodgers. How dare you do that? Blah, 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 blah. I can't please everybody. So as long as I'm honest with the topics on the table, that's all I care about.
Well, I think you're leaving out part of the story. And the part is that the Padres are like right there. They're like a couple of games out of first place. And I think if you would have asked any Padre fan in spring training, would you be happy with where they are right now? A couple of games behind the Dodgers, what is it? They're like about 8 or 9 games over 500. I bet you most Padre fans would say, hell yeah. We're in the mix. We're competitive. And yeah, we can criticize the roster and some of the trades and the performance of some of these players, but they're still right there.
so far.
So far,
But you don't have an answer to Darvish and Michael King. You think you can stay there without answers to those questions?
Well, no. Every team's got questions. Even the Dodgers have questions. We don't know if Ohtani's arm is going to blow up tonight in his first day back, and he hasn't pitched in a year and a half, or how long has it been?
Yeah, 2 full years of rehab.
Yeah, so everybody's got question marks. It's just that the Padres question marks are just so obvious.
No, the Padres question marks are right in front and center because I'm talking about them every Monday and every Thursday.
Well, here's the other comment here, and this is on the same point, and this is from Philip, and he goes, "Can you stop being negative and focus on beating the Dodgers? Just have faith."
Okay, that's fine. But if please trust me, if the season ends by Thursday night, aka they get swept, I just might be unbearable by the time I get on here Thursday afternoon.
Well, I remember on Thursday, you were saying, well, after this 7-game series, Arizona and the Dodgers, they could be out of this, gone for the season. They're not in the mix. And then they lost game 1, and then that horrible bullpen blowout by Robert Suarez Saturday. And I'm like, damn it, Hacksaw is going to be right. They're going to end up going 0-7, and I'm going to have to eat my words. They finally won on Sunday. They're going to win at least one in LA. I'm confident of it.
Yeah, but that means if they win one in Arizona, they're playing .333 baseball. When they played the Yankees, they won 1. So they're playing .333 baseball there. Yeah. You just told me if they win 1 against the Dodgers, that'd be .250 baseball.
Yeah, well, I know.
How are you going to be in a pennant race?
No, but they're still in the mix. The thing is that the Padres are playing with multiple arms tied behind their back. There's no Jackson Merrill. Okay. Like, to your point, you're missing King and Darvish in the rotation. You'd love to have them pitching at in Dodger Stadium, and definitely Jackson Merrill.
That being said, the Dodgers have a better pitching staff on the disabled list in rehab than they have on the roster.
Yeah. The rehab pitching depth for the Dodgers, there's like 5 Cy Youngs in there. So yeah. So it's going to be a great series. Ohtani's there. Big tickets. I bet you we're going to see some celebrities in the stands in Dodger Stadium.
It's going to be fun. I agree.
Okay. Now, this was a cool topic, and this is from 24x7 Cars talking about Davante Adams going to the Rams. And he says, Davante Adams sees the most important difference between the Rams and the other teams. It's the culture. The Rams are upbeat and optimistic, but nip player drama in the bud and put the interests of the team first.
Davante Adams has been through some good times, bad times. I will say this, that the thing about him, rock solid, consistent. He catches 1,000 yards a season. He catches 50, 60 balls. I mean, you look at all the places he's played. I mean, obviously starred with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, went to the Raiders because of the relinkage with Derek Carr. They put up some really good numbers. Obviously, the Jets situation was a mess. But he's going to play for a guy that they got structure in LA with the Rams that has been a proven formula that works. And he has linked up with a quarterback that has really impressed him in Matthew Stafford. So I think it's a good team. I think it's a well-run organization. They got themselves a winner at quarterback. They've sure stockpiled a lot of talent. What they've drafted in the last 2.5 years on the defensive side of football is just absolutely phenomenal. So I could see where he'd be excited. I mean, he was the one that made the comment, today is Monday. We talked about it last Thursday. I guess he made the comment last Wednesday. He says there's no dark clouds in this organization. And he knows dark clouds, having been with the Jets, and prior to that with a mess that was the Raiders.
See, that's a really great message, isn't it? I mean, because you don't usually hear that. A player going to another organization, they might be happy that they're going to a winning franchise, but to comment on the culture, and the depth of the organization and their strategy as a group.
The vibe.
Yeah, all of that. I mean, the only time I've really heard that recently is when some of these players end up signing with the Dodgers, and then they'll talk about how great that organization is. But this is a rare thing to hear in the NFL.
Ladies and gentlemen, where did he revert the conversation back to? Dodgers. This came from my co-host.
Dodgers.
John Riley made that comment.
Okay, let's talk here. Team USA. We'll talk about Pulisic. It's a little bit of a long one. This is from JT, and he goes, at first I criticized FIFA and CONCACAF for fixture congestion, but now I'm more critical of Pulisic. Both Pulisic and Panchito, how did he say his last name? Pochettino.
Mauricio Pochettino.
Excuse me. Both Pulisic and Pochettino should have come to an agreement with respect to playing time. And Pulisic should have had at least showed up to the camp, whether he played at all or not. Or one half of every game or whatever. It's important 1 year out to get as many of the A team and the A and B rosters as possible together to develop chemistry.
Pochettino approved Pulisic to take the summer off, to not train, etc., because he's played so many games over there for AC Milan over a 2-year window and all the international tournaments and stuff. And he had injuries. He had 2 different injuries this past year alone. Reina has been hurt. They've had a lot of guys. When they were in their friendlies 2 weeks ago, they had 13 guys out, all of them in different levels and stages of rehab, and a couple guys had to go play for their teams in the Club World Cup. But Pochettino signed off on it. Now, I was told, and I can't verify it at this point, I was told that Pulisic came back to Pochettino after all this heat showed up and said, I'd be willing to come train and I'll play in the friendlies for you, but I really need this summer off to rest my body. And Pochettino said, no, I'm not going to let you come back and be a part-time player. So Pulisic said he'd come back. At the end of the day, the most important thing is get beyond the Gold Cup, get into your training periods, and when you have the international periods where the guys leave their clubs and come back to train with the national team, get them all there and get them all there healthy. That, to me, is the most important thing. Yeah, the Gold Cup is important, but the World Cup is the epitome of why this thing is together. So that's all I can say. And Pulisic's really steamed at Landon Donovan and Tim Howard and all those guys because they all played abroad, and they know the wear and tear factor. And Landon Donovan, and I like him a great deal, Landon Donovan took a whole year off from the U.S. national side because he needed time to step away. Well, what's different from him then than it is for Christian Pulisic right now? So the only thing that's important to me is get him back once we're beyond the Gold Cup. Get him back when they get into the training windows. Whole team there. Play your friendlies as preparation for the U.S., Canada, Mexico World Cup games. So I guess I'm siding with Pulisic, and I don't necessarily buy the heat that the former USA guys are directing to Pulisic right now because the game is really different. The global demands on the players are really different than when Lawless played or Howard played, Landon Donovan played, Clint Dempsey played. I don't know. If you're a soccer fan, feel free to pile in, send us a note, tell us if you agree or disagree.
Well, as fans, we hate it when USA loses to Panama. We should be dominating. But I was surprised that they beat Trinidad and Tobago. Granted, Trinidad and Tobago, these 2 little itty bitty islands,
yeah.
but the point is that they have been so bad for 4 games in a row, and then suddenly they threw a shutout.
Well, Trinidad is ranked 100th globally. They don't have enough players. It's just, as you say, small islands. So we'll see. They play Saudi Arabia this week in the second game in group play in the Gold Cup. That's interesting, boy. We hit some hot buttons here with the soccer fans. Okay, let's do a couple more here before we wrap this up.
Okay, let's talk a little Dodgers, and this is with Ed Omar, and he says, hey, so that relief pitcher converted into a starter is really a starter that has been used as a reliever to give a chance to the other starters, Gonsolin, May, Sasaki at first, and Kirsch, to get their command and control back.
He's talking about Ben Casparas, who pitched well out of the bullpen in that last start, and is going to pitch tonight after Ohtani.
I thought he was talking about Sauer.
No, Sauer was just a journeyman minor leaguer that they threw in there.
But it is they're throwing these warm bodies out there, right?
Yep.
And they can still keep the damn ship afloat
so far.
But I think to your point, you've often commented that the Dodgers analytics guys outsmart everybody, and even in the Dodgers Padres series, you see them bring out Sauer. They kind of waved a white flag in game 2, and in game 3 they had all their lefty guys lined up in the bullpen, ready to face Cronenworth and Merrill and all the other lefty hitters.
Just like the bullpen day in the baseball playoffs last fall.
24 innings of hell.
That's right.
That was torture.
That was their analytics, outthinking the Padre analytics guys.
Yeah, unbelievable. Okay, let's keep moving here. And here, this is an interesting comment, and this is from Roki, and he says, hey, Dodger fan here. Hey, give them a break. The Padres had one of the best second half records in baseball last year. They'll turn it around, although the Devers to the hated Giants doesn't help.
Well, I'll be interested to see if Devers in San Francisco is the Devers that used to be at Fenway Park. I just have reservations. That is such a quirky yard. I think it impacts the psyche of batters. I think it's a really tough place to hit. And then you throw the weather elements in there too. So we'll just have to see what Devers is like playing away from Fenway Park. And in terms of the Padres, they'll be there. Got a whole second half of the season to go. And if they can't execute the right acquisition with their budgetary limitations and the farm system limitations, if they can't execute the right deal, how do they hang in there? That's the big issue to me.
I think what year was it? Was it 2021 where the Padres had a great start and the second half they went into the tank?
Terrible.
Yeah. And that was coming after the COVID 2020 year.
And then 23 was the same disappointment.
Yes.
And then 24, we had the 24 straight shutout innings at the end, which was a horrific choke job. And this is somebody that hates to use that word, but that was the end result.
That was crazy the way that whole thing went down. And to your point, you're like, should they be starting Dylan Cease on 4 days rest?
Hell no.
Yeah, and that turned out to bite him in the butt. But
3 days rest.
Was it 3 days? Okay,
yes.
Yeah. Normally it's 4 days.
Power
rest.
pitcher on 3 days rest in the playoffs.
Right, but who was the alternative? You were going to have to. The Padres would have had to throw in a bullpen game then.
No, the Padres, they had the left-handed pitcher.
Oh, Martin.
Perez.
That? Yeah, Martin Perez.
Yeah, if that turned out to be a bullpen day, so be it. But then Cease would be on regular rest the next game because there was going to be another next game.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Now, I'll just, when you play tennis,
yeah,
guy serves you, you come back to net, return serve.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Rocco, here's a question. Padres will be there. John and I just went through what happened in 21, 23, and 24.
Yeah.
So that's 3 times since 2021. Franchise has really badly let us down. So you're saying Padres be there. You're treating the topic as if this has been some freaking great franchise. Well, there haven't been a World Series yet. I've been sat in the press box for a Padre World Series in the Preller era. Have you gotten a World Series ticket?
No, I have.
So we're sitting here. I understand Padre fans get excited with great hope, and they have a lot of named players, and you like these players, and players play well in certain chunks. But they failed in 21, 23, and then choked in 24. So is there a storyline here of greatness? I don't think so.
The standard of excellence for the Padres is so low. It's just that we just want to be competitive, relevant, and at least we're at that stage. But here's another comment here from another Padre fan, and this is from this is Austin. Pardon me. Let me go to Nate. And he says the Padres better show something starting tonight. Blowing multiple run leads ain't good. Bottom half of the lineup, even Tatis and Merrill, please, guys. Luis, if that dude ain't batting over 300, then his ability to make contact isn't really a big freaking deal.
Well, Tatis had himself a really good weekend. He had 8 base hits against Arizona, so maybe he's come out of the catacombs. Only time is going to tell. Arizer's really streaky, wasn't playing very well. Machado's been rock solid. Xander has been a negative, at least offensively, though he plays really good defense and he's running the bases like hell. Merrill is dinged up with this fluke concussion, which has got to be a bit of a concern. So we'll just see what happens over these next 4 games. I'll tell you, I could argue with these people all day long, but one final question for you. Should I ask this question right now? Ladies and gentlemen, look at my co-host. Is that Dodger blue you're wearing?
What are you wearing? You're wearing like Cleveland Indians colors right there.
Oh, it's red, white, and blue flag.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
Yeah, that looks like Dodger blue to me.
It's interesting. I mean, the Dodgers have really good looking uniforms,
with the exception of the City Connect jerseys.
Oh yeah, those don't count.
Awful.
No, but the Dodger uniform is a good look.
Sure,
and especially that red number on
History,
the front
tradition.
of the jersey.
Yep, and the script.
Yeah, and I know that goes back to like Jackie Robinson and games on television in the World Series. I don't know if I have all my facts on that story right. Do you know it? But that's why they have the red number
to stand out. Exactly.
Yeah. So, it's a good look. And, there's a lot of different shades of blue you see for uniform colors, and the Dodgers have the best color of blue.
It's a royal, I think it's called Pantone 280 or something.
Yeah, one of those. I will say Dodger blue if I see a car or something in that color.
Ladies and gentlemen, my co-host seems to be selling an ideology about the Dodgers now
It's-
on a podcast out of San Diego.
Yeah, like the Church of Scientology or something, you know. So, yeah, I mean, Dodgers. They just got everything, you know.
We're going to wrap this up by saying this is going to be fun. Padres, Dodgers, 4-game series. It's always great to have you along. We busted through, had more than 300 viewers, we believe,
Well,
the first couple
that's a
hours today.
subset.
That's pretty doggone good. We